Asda in the UK has seen phenomenal success with Sensormatic's Shrink Management as a Service, SMAS. By connecting all of their 600 plus stores, Asda has seen a boost in their loss prevention program, leading to a reduction in shrink, labor savings, and an overall increase in profitability.
Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. We're here today at the Loss Prevention Research Council's Impact 2018 conference, being held at the University of Florida. This episode today is the first in a series of 9 episodes designed to allow you to hear directly from the retail and solution provider members and leaders of the LPRC about the role, the impact, and the value this academic effort delivers to the retail industry, and also to allow you to consider membership and how you'd present it to your leadership team. We'd also like to thank Sensormatic for sponsoring this entire series and supporting this academic effort. So the next time you see a Sensormatic executive, make sure you thank them, as this series is for you and your retailer. So let's get started. Given the level of disruption going on in the retail industry, the increasing role of technology, the importance of brand reputation, and the impact of social media, the opioid epidemic, active shooters, and cybercrime is having on retail, it's never been as important as it is today to develop the academic solutions that solve or at least help minimize enterprise risk. With that said, the LPRC is really the only academic resource we have available that's totally dedicated to the LP and asset protection community here in the States. And our guests here today are tenured members of the LPRC and can speak directly to the role and impact it's having on the industry. With us today is Paul Jaeckle, Vice President of Asset Protection for Meijer Stores and Vice Chairperson for the LPRC, Kevin Larson, Senior Manager, Asset Protection, Kroger, and Vice Chair for the LPRC, and Joe Coll, VP Asset Protection, Operations, and Administration for Macy's. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Gus.
Pleasure.
You know, Paul, you're one of the Vice Chair of the LPRC, and have watched it, grow over a number of years, and especially coming out of Walmart in your previous position, that is. Can you talk about the LPRC's role? How have you utilized the effort, and do you have any specific wins, so to speak, where the LPRC added value for your team and organization?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I actually have a couple of different examples of where that fits into play. The LPRC, I think what makes them valuable for a retailer, and where I've been able to see some immediate impact, is having something that is independent of what our team establishes as, a potential solution. I think about this idea of where the industry is going from frictionless customer shopping experiences to the idea of making sure it's a safe and secure environment for a customer while they're in and out of our buildings. Those things kind of naturally conflict with being able to make sure that you are protecting the company's assets and the brand reputation at the same time. And so the LPRC, I think, has done a really nice job of being able to be that independent mind that says, well, why do these things happen? What are potential solutions that are out there? And it becomes a little bit more credible for me to be able to leverage that as something that we're taking into an evaluation. For an example, one of the areas that we spend a lot of time on is really this idea of, we consider ourselves a tier 1 grocery store. So we have premier products with name brand establishments, and liquor is one of those areas of opportunity for us. And we know that that's a significant ORC item that happens within our stores. But how do you create ways of being able to continue to carry that product for the legitimate customer that wants to buy that stuff every individual day, has an expectation that you have it, and also put yourself in a situation where you're profitable on being able to carry that stuff. And so, finding that right balance of what are the technologies or the solutions that are out there, from this idea of how do you display it, how do you ensure that it's in stock and available for the legitimate customer, maybe retrain the customer on how to shop that for the purposes of maintaining the in-stock in the store, but also protecting the company's assets. And so, we've leveraged them a lot with offender interview panels, or testing out different solutions from some of the solution providers that are out there, and then being able to help us validate, really, is there a return to be able to do it this way? And is this matching, the most effective way for us to be able to do that ticks all the boxes that we need to say it's a worthwhile investment to do it.
Mm-hmm. And are you seeing more manufacturers getting involved? I mean, we've got, 4-member?
Yeah.
And we had a session with Krista from P&G.
Yep.
But, isn't there a need for more manufacturers to be involved in the process?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, today, if you think about it, you've got really this kind of cradle to grave mentality of, how the product is actually manufactured. Where can I have the ability of being able to think about this as a one-touch solution to where do I need to do something topically or different than just putting a product out on the shelf, and where does that solution provider come into play? And then ultimately, what's the right need that the retailer needs to be able to support that for interfacing with the customer? Procter & Gamble is a great example of where, you have a manufacturer that, for us, has a significant amount of inventory in our buildings. And I think that there's a sense of education that is still happening in terms of what do we actually deal with, and why do we do things a little bit differently in terms of how we protect the product, and is there a way to be able to force that a bit further upstream so that there's a net benefit for everybody that's involved, and still gives us the opportunity to sell that product as it was intended to be done in the first place.
Right. So the group needs to put some pressure on the manufacturers out there.
Yeah, I think I'd say that's probably appropriate. There's definitely learning, right? I mean, that's half the battle of just what are we actually dealing with, and I know that the manufacturer wants to be able to sell their product. We want to be able to be the interface that delivers that to the customer. How do we do that is protecting the retailer in that space as well.
Kevin, you've been heavily involved with the LPRC, and Kroger has a store lab out there. Can you talk to their role in the Wins Kroger scene? And as I asked Paul, but can you also talk about the store lab a little bit and that experience, what it took to get up and running, and how does it impact the store? Any resistance did you get from the store employees? I mean, and how deep is the lab?
Yeah. So we've had the lab open at Kroger now for probably just over a year. It's the first lab that we had set up in one of our markets, and I think that we were very methodical about where we place that lab, what store we pick, things of that nature, right? So making sure that, from a shrink standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from associate engagement standpoint, right, customer penetration standpoint. So we work very closely with, Dr. Reed Hayes and his team to figure out to go on site to look at several stores within the market and pick the right store for the lab. But I think, to your point, Gus, I think it was also important to have discussions with the leadership team, not only leadership team within that particular division, from president to vice president to operations managers within that market, but also discussions at store level, so store manager folks and with associates as well, so that they could understand what we were doing with the lab, what types of things they would see in the coming months and also in the coming year. And so what we did within that particular location is we held kind of formal kind of huddles, meetings to introduce to the leadership team and to also to the associates as to what types of things we would be doing in the lab and how they would see maybe more of a presence from us or presence from some LPRC folks in the stores as well, monitoring things and asking questions and talking to customers and things of that such. So we put in a lot of new technology within the store. I think of a lab store is that it's kind of our sandbox, right? It's our place where we can put in technology or solutions or do things to really test out and try different things that we may want to roll out on a fuller scale. So to go to lab store that we had selected about over a year ago was the first lab store that we put some new technology in, and now that technology has expanded across our enterprise. But it was the first location where we put it in to kind of, again, like our sandbox, to test and learn from that. and not just get feedback from customers, but also get feedback from our associates. So it's important to know not only what our our good customers are saying, as well as our, obviously, some of the offenders were saying, but we also wanted feedback from our associates as well as to what they were seeing, what they felt about the technology, things of that nature. So we worked closely with Reed and his team, and we went down there similar to what Paul talked about by doing, we did offender interactions. So we brought offenders into the store and had them walk the store to look at the various technologies that we put in the store to get feedback from them as to what their thoughts were around the technology and what they saw, what they observed, right? The whole theory that Reed talks a lot about is the see it, fear it, get it, right? That whole mentality, and so that's what we did with them, and so it's proven to be highly successful for us. We've had some good results from a shrink and from a waste standpoint, and so we're looking forward to continuing to expand that lab store with other types of various solutions and technologies.
Now, you've only got one store lab.
Yep,
So this took buy-in from the top level management in the company,
it did.
all the way down to the DM and then to the store manager.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, yep. And it's a continuing process in which we're always continuing to get feedback. So whatever the solution or whatever we do within that particular location, we're always making sure that we have those pre-conversations, to your point, Gus, with the leadership
Right.
and with the store leadership as to what we're going to be doing, and if they have any concerns or questions, things of that nature, complete 100% buy-in from the store team and from the associates before we do something within that store.
So the store manager, in effect, could have stopped it
Yeah.
if they didn't want it in their unit.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how deep is it? I mean, if you look at from a standpoint of, how many products are you allowing to be tested at a given time,
Yeah.
so to speak?
So, I think we started initially just with some, CCTV type technology, with some, what we call our EPVMs, right, our 10-inch monitors that we had placed obviously at some of our self-checkout units and some of the aisles, and then we expanded it to signage, and then obviously some cart containment type stuff. And so I think right now we're probably looking at 4 or 5 different types of solutions that we have within the particular store, and some of the solutions, it's ever changing. So right now we haven't taken any solutions out, but we're open to the fact that getting back to the fact that it's a sandbox, right? Test
Right.
and learn. We're open to if the solution's not working, or if we want to put a different solution in, proof of concept, things of that nature. So it's always an evolving thing to test and learn stuff, and not just obviously within the stores, but obviously without the stores, so outside the stores. So if you want to look at stuff that we want to try, in the parking lot area, if we want to try something at the store entrance, or we want to try something at actual aisle level or product level, again, kind of getting back to LPRC's things about the 5 zones of influence. We really take a look at that with our lab stores and figure out how we can have technology within those 5 zones
Right.
and how it impacts us.
Joe, you've been a big supporter of the LPRC as well, and so has Macy's. And you gave an RFID presentation last year. Can you talk to the growth of the LPRC that you've seen and the value it's delivering for you and your team?
Yeah, certainly. And you look at the past 3 years being at LPRC, to watch the growth, it's on both sides. You're seeing it from the practitioner side, the retailer side, and then also the solution providers. You're seeing it's a monumental growth, and Dr. Reed Hayes had mentioned earlier today, of all the conferences, this is the largest growth over the past few years. That's quite impressive to see, and it makes the argument of why you need to attend something like this very easy, because you need to either be a part of it or you're not a part of it, and that's really important. This is such a collaborative environment, far different than any other conference that's out there. Most conferences you attend once a year, and you kind of get ready for it for the week that you're leading up to it. This is an all-year conference. There's a lot of different projects going on that you all, retailers and the solution providers are collaborating on, and that's pretty exciting to be a part of that and see when you come to the Impact Conference, it's not just the 3 days that you're here, it's the year-long work effort that's put together, and you're seeing it on display at the Impact Conference.
With the working groups and the 30 research papers released just this year
Yeah.
alone and such. I mean, it's an ongoing, really intense workload, so
Yep.
to speak. So, gentlemen, a question for all of you. How critical is it to have this resource? And does it truly develop your teams and make a difference with your organizations? Paul, you go first.
Yeah, I would say immediately. I vice chair the working group aspect of it, and so my team obviously has a direct connection based off of that, based on where I support, and so we pull our team members into each of those individual working groups that fit, and it's really impressive to kind of watch their independent growth coming off of this on things that they may not have had any exposure to based on the nature of what they do in their day job. But it's really expanding their thinking and getting us to really move forward on things that maybe never seemed like it was within reach before. So it's great. It's been a real exciting piece to watch.
Kevin?
Yeah, to echo Paul's comments, it's extremely beneficial. I think that, we talk a lot about, I was just talking to a retailer earlier today about how we leverage some of the folks that we, from a Kroger standpoint, that we have on the working group calls and things of that nature. And I challenge the retailer speaking with is that put it as part of their objectives, part of their development for the year, that they join a working group call and that they participate. And maybe after a year or two, they maybe co-chair one of their working groups and bring them to the conference and allow them to experience it. And I think just your point about how beneficial is it when you're talking to folks in the C-suite and executives regarding different types of solutions and things you want to put in the stores. It's very powerful when you can come back and you can put down that research, right? And do the science behind it, and not just go in and say, well, we need this amount of money to do X, Y, and Z. But when you can show a video of offenders that we may have interviewed in a store location indicating why, right, they may commit their fraud and crimes within our stores and what types of technology that they be concerned with and that type of stuff, that is powerful stuff to share with the executives.
Joe?
Yeah, and Kevin brings up a great point when you talk about the working group. So for RFID, Macy's has a huge play with the LPRC with regards to RFID, and it's my entire team. My entire team is fully engaged in it. All the work they're doing in the store, they're sharing with the working group, and to Kevin's point, it's great to be able to bring them to this conference and let them see what the work that they're putting in to build the working group and then see it on display here. It's certainly quite impressive. And the offender panel is certainly exceptional to see. You don't get that anywhere else. You don't get that firsthand feedback from those individuals in the moment when you may have been back in the day processing a shoplifter. You may get some sort of information, but it's really incredible to see this type of platform where you're getting individuals. And I'm excited this year to even see from an internal perspective to see those employees and really understand inside their psyche exactly why. Right. We're going after the why to be able to solve the problem, and the why is quite important to hear, especially from the internal perspective.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today, taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for watching, and once again, we'd like to thank Sensormatic for sponsoring the series and making sure that you thank them as well yourself, because this is all about you and your retailer. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.